Well, happy Wednesday, everyone. Dr. Sepchik here at the Life Enhancement Clinic. And for this Whiteboard Wednesday, I want to talk about something called the triglyceride to HDL ratio. Now, let's just talk about this concept of insulin very quickly. When we eat food, that signals the pancreas to secrete insulin as a receptor. That insulin will then make it so that the sugar in the bloodstream can get out of the bloodstream and be put into the cells so that it can be used to manufacture energy and to drive the cell functions of the body. Now, when you look at insulin, you want to keep insulin levels in a healthy range. If insulin levels are starting to climb too high, that will signal the cells to resist the insulin, and this is called insulin resistance, which puts us on a path to prediabetes, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, increased cancer risk, increased cardiovascular disease, all these chronic illnesses that we don't want to go down that path. Now, there's one kind of error in this diagram that I chose to use is it shows this picture of fruit and vegetables that are going to be causing the spike or the increase in insulin. But really, the biggest things that drive up insulin and drive up something called triglycerides in the body are really your carbohydrates. So, high sugar foods, refined grains and starchy foods, the high calorie foods that are high calorie but low nutrient density, the trans fats that are in processed foods, and alcohol. These are the things that will actually raise triglyceride levels, leading to a burden on the body and increasing the release of insulin, increasing the likelihood that the cells will resist that insulin and not use it. But what happens is if you don't get the glucose into the cells, then that sugar, that glucose, the blood sugars that are in the bloodstream, will not go into the cell for energy. They'll actually be stored in the body as body fat, which is very inflammatory, and that can damage cell machinery, and that can lead to inflammation, and it can lead to inflam aging. So inflammation leading to accelerated aging, and that leaves people feeling tired and hungry. Well, when their blood sugar drops, what do? They tend to go back and they want to eat more food, and they're not choosing the healthy things. They're going to be using those comfort foods that are the highly processed foods. Now, the problem with that is that can lead to, as I said, insulin resistance, which is a early indicator of you're on the path to full born diabetes. And so there is a marker that you can look at on your cholesterol standard lipid panel. Now, I know Whiteboard Wednesday, we discussed the importance of looking at your LDL particle size, and that's very important when you're looking at cardiovascular risk. But most of you that are watching this have probably had your cholesterol checked in your standard primary care practice, maybe as a health screen at work. You know what your total cholesterol is, your HDL, your LDL, your triglycerides. Pull those out and look at your triglycerides, see what that number is, and then divide that by your HDL, and you're going to get a ratio. Optimally, you want to see that number less than 2. That's going to be an insulin sensitive individual, meaning that you're manufacturing just enough insulin, you're not overburdening the pancreas, you're getting the glucose from the bloodstream into the cells. But as you start to see that triglyceride to HDL ratio get above a 4, you're starting to see these early indicators of insulin resistance, and this should be addressed substantially. Need to take care of this, because if left alone, it will continue to progress, and you do not want to let that continue to decline and deteriorate into that metabolic, we call it dysmetabolism situation. So look at your triglyceride to HDL ratio. See if you have some early insulin resistance. If you do and you need some help, or you know someone that has an elevated triglyceride to HDL ratio, tell them about this, because this is a much easier problem to take care of in the early stages rather than waiting until someone goes in and says, "Oh, you got diabetes." Diabetes does not develop overnight. It's years and years or months and months of this metabolic state that is going to produce this imbalance that's going to lead to these changes. So, hope it was helpful today. Thank you for your time. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll